Hey, this is Baron Vega. Vega's asked me to do the introduction and explanation of his metric system that he and his friends from SSX came up with. In general, every champion is given a total score out of 40. I have been given a 31, which although I've been told is extremely good, I do believe it should be significantly higher, and I'm sure you agree with me. General is a possible 10 out of 10. This is essentially just how good is the champion. We all kind of intuitively know it. How many powerful abilities do they have? If new content comes out, are they some of the first champions you think of? Battlegrounds. It's an important mode. Great rewards and a chance to really use your roster and strategy and knowledge of this game. There's a possible 10 points in your defensive capabilities of your champions was able to be included. I'm a great defender and a fantastic attacker. Therefore, I got an 8 out of 10. It should be a 10, but it's an 8. I'll take that up with Vega later. In war, you are not allowed to include your defensive prowess in the score. It is also out of 10 points. I've been given an 8, which, as we all know, is ridiculous. But I am told that it means this is a reliable attacker that is used often to take a variety of nodes and defenders, and you frequently see them used in high-tier war. Long-form content. Necropolis has the best rewards in the game, and long-form has a total score possibility of 5. Again, I should be a 5 out of 5, but they've given me a 3, meaning I was either able to be used consistently for a fight or two, or maybe very good in one lane in Necropolis, or I was good in Gauntlet or EOP. I happen to know I was phenomenal in all of them, and Vega is just wrong here, but that's fine. We'll move on. And then ease of use is a possible total 3 points. 3 meaning you are easy. Think of your archangels. I bet that Cabro gets a 3 out of 3. That guy is mindless and simple. And then the toughest is a 1, meaning your Tigers and your Kate Bishops. And I am too smart to ask anyone to spend that much time trying to learn how to play me. A 2 is just right. And this is the 1 score, aside from the 10 out of 10, that Vega got correct. All right, it's time to go over the top 20. We're going to go 11 through 20, and in a different video, we're going to go 1 through 10. Now, just so you know, there's a lot of ties at 10, so that's going to have more than just 10, and this one's going to have more than just 10 as well, because there's a lot of ties. When you get into the top 20 in this game, it is tight. Let's go over the honorable mentions quickly so you can kind of understand like how good these champions are. They're not going to be in the top 20. Apocalypse, Omega Red, Warlock, Iron Man, Adam Warlock, Rintra, The Hood, Juggernaut, Kushala, Cassie Lang, Photon, Spider-Man 2099, Miguel, Void, the Overseer, and Spider-Ham, Spork, as I like to call him. Those are amazing champions, and there's some that are just below them that really could have an argument too, and shows you like if you really love Battlegrounds, someone might make it. If you really love War, someone else might make it. If you love long form, you guys get the picture here. And then I'm sure by now you know, you're aware, you understand, you get it. Baron Vega, he loves the controversy. He loves leaking information. This format, we did tailor it. He had an earlier one where easy use had the best 5 out of 5. And the one we ended up going with was the best 1 out of 3 or 3 out of 3 for ease of use. Here we go. Let's jump into this. Now, what I'm going to do for this is I'm going to tell you what I think each champion is, like kind of in the meta. Do I think over the course of 2024, we're going to see them stabilize, stay the same, go down, or get maybe more and more prevalent, more popular, have more prowess, more prestige within our community? And we start off with Diablo here. I would have normally, before the last few days, I would have said I thought he was plateaued or maybe going to go down. But then now he's available as a 7-star, and they are so powerful. So I think we're going to see him used more offensively in war and also in Battlegrounds, potentially even in Necropolis. And what that's going to cause people to do, should that happen, is they're going to have to bring in defenders that he might not be as good as for. And so I think Diablo's actually maybe going to go up in use. Now, I'm not predicting that he's going to become the best Mystic champion in the game. Their power won't change, but the way we're using them, and then therefore the way we're rating them, as far as like, should you rank them up or get an idea on their power levels, could influence slightly. So I have him definitely has a plateau or potentially moving up. All right, let's go ahead and move on to some of the mates that he's tied with here. There's quite a few at the number 20 spot. Staying in at tied for number 20, we have Silk. Really hit the stage running, right? Fintech got her. Showed us so many amazing things with her. She is my auto ban in Battlegrounds. She was in the top 10 for the best champions in 2023. She was in the top 10 of Science, which is
in my opinion, the strongest class in the game, has been for quite a while. She's phenomenal. I think as more people get her, I think we will see her used more, especially in war when she's not on the, I think it's called the blacklist, so the auto bans. She's fantastic. She's phenomenal. In fact, she's right now, literally day one of the new war season, she is causing deaths for some of the best players in the world because the evade is very difficult when you are stuck in the root mechanic. So she's even got some defensive prowess. I think we're just going to find more and more uses for her. And then as people get her 7-star awakened, and then they get that SIG going, we're going to see her used even more. So I think she is plateaued and probably even moving up as we move through on the year here. So I think she's phenomenal. I think she's well represented now, but I think when we do this in June, could potentially be up even higher. All right, Gallon, right? I mean, absolute powerhouse, came in and destroyed the beast defender of Penny Parker for us all. Anything with the armor ups, anything trying to, I think it's power burn us. He is destroying it, taking care of it for us. So many people have chosen to ascend him because it's the only way to really increase his damage output. Very, very smart. I think as time goes on and as the longer we don't see him as a 7-star, the more people are going to ascend him. Really tough to do in a class that has Hercules and Hulkling in it, but I think we're going to see that happen. And as a result, I think he's very much going to stay at this power level, potentially even go up just a little bit as we head towards June. Now, as we go towards the end of the year, that's a bit far out, so let's see what comes our way as far as tech defenders and these really tough defenders we've got. Like we've had close of quite a few here. Photon, now we've got Onslaught as well. I think he's a fantastic champion. He's obviously well designed. The thing that might hurt him is this. If you notice as we go through this, I don't think you're going to see another champion that has a general score as low as 8. Now that's a phenomenal score, but the rest of them are going to be 9s and 10s, and that might be the sort of thing that indicates he may have a little trouble holding on. He's exceptionally well designed. The designer definitely got the maximum out of the abilities that were put into that kit. But I think right now, if you like Gallant, I think you should feel comfortable, very, very comfortable, taking him to rank 5 and ascending him. Okay, also tied for number 20, the number 4 champion in the skill class. I think he's going to stay the same. Now, people are going to ascend him, and I think that's going to help him out quite a bit. I don't expect to see him as a 7-star anytime soon. And the reason why I think for both of these is he just automates so many things. His shrug is just automated. And he has a very, very simple play style, right? You throw the SP1, you get the ability accuracy reduction, you get the degen, you can go to the SP2, you get the nice unstoppable, and you counter punch. Like it's very smooth. You pair him up with Hood, he gets rid of all the debuffs for you. You don't pair him up with Hood, you might suffer some damage for a little bit, but he's eventually going to get rid of all the debuffs for you. And I think that's just a little too much automation. It's a little for what Kabam seems to be wanting to ask out of us for a champion that's as powerful as he is. So as a result, I actually think he might start to tail off. People are going to ascend him. They already have, so it might keep him going through June. But I have a feeling that when we get to the end of 2024 and we go through this list, we're actually going to see him start to fall off. And a lot of that's going to be due to the power of mutant and science. Okay, moving on to another champion tied with this score of 30, Phenomenal Ghost, right? We talked about all these champions in depth in their thing. So I want to just continue to talk about, do I think they're going to move up? Do I think they're going to move down? I think Ghost is to stay about the same. What I am noticing, though, is people not ascending her as much, right? I think you're very intense war players who want to use her, but she's so often banned. So as a result, they're choosing other tech champions who maybe are more relevant in battlegrounds. And then you're like, more relevant? Well, she has no defensive capability, no defensive threat whatsoever. And it's been unique. It's been interesting. As time has gone on in battlegrounds, there's been more and more metas where I don't see Ghost being used. Not that she can't, but it feels like the game in those modes is moving on, especially for a champion that has a 10 out of 10 score. So as a result, I actually won't be surprised if in June or definitely by the end of 2024, we don't see her in the top 20. Still an incredibly powerful champion, broken in many, many ways. But the game seems to be kind of slightly moving on. Again, I'm not saying she's bad. I know there's some Ghost fans out there who are getting very angry. They are in the comment section already. I'm not saying she's bad. What I'm saying is this is what's reflected. These are the modes that we're playing. Battlegrounds, War, and Long Form. And while she's still clearly an 8 in Battlegrounds and a 10 in War, I think over time she's going to continue to fall off. All right, speaking of champions that are falling off and in the tech class, I think also again with Nimrod. Now, again, they're not plummeting. They're not bad champions now. They're just not, in my opinion, they might not be in the top 20. And a lot of this one feels intentional. This isn't like the game moving on and more things being asked and nodes and intricacies of defender kits and nodes and things like that. This feels more like the Kabam just being like, oh, we made a problem with Nimrod. So let's do this. You remove a prowess and the defender's going to gain a ton of power. Or they're like, okay, if you remove a prowess and you put a shock on the champion, you take a lot of damage. Like, it's so obviously clearly designed to make it so that you just don't use Nimrod. In my own non-professional opinion, I would prefer it if they would just have a note entitled like, don't use Nimrod. If you use Nimrod, you die. And then the rest of the champions could still go about and playing in the sandbox and having a lot of fun. But I get why they don't do that. And it feels to me like Nimrod himself will stay super powerful. There's still a lot of defender. There's still a lot of nodes he can take. But as more and more tech champions get the whole, their ability actually can't be reduced at all, or more and more their ability actually can't be reduced by mutant champions, we become less reliant upon Nimrod to be our domino counter. So I'm not predicting he falls off a cliff. I don't think that like in June, he won't even make the top 10 of his own class. I think he definitely will. He's a very strong champion. But by new tech champions coming out who have that similar ability, by new nodes and defenders who have that same idea of punishing Nimrod, I think you're going to see him potentially not be in the top 20 overall in the whole game, which again is a very high bar by the time we get to the end of next year. Two more champions tied with 30 points in this 20th spot. And I think this one's going to also surprise you. But if you bear with me, I think you'll understand where I'm going with this. I'm less certain that Omega Sentinel is going to fall off. And the reason is she's not as dominant in a single space, right? Like we talked about this at length in the tech top 10 with Nimrod, that he is just a dominant force if there's healing or prowess. But now Kabam has come out with nodes that just very much flip that. Where if you remove it the way he does, you're going to get punished. And so if a champion was so valuable because they had these very dominant abilities, but now those abilities are being punished, well, guess what? They're not left with a ton of the versatility. He's still very good. Please don't take this as a Nimrod's bad conversation. But what I do think it does is I think it gives Omega Sentinel more staying power. Her power is more versatile. It's more laid out across a variety of abilities, right? All those various pre-fights and debuffs she can put on the opponent, and her nullify immunity and her anti-miss and her various sources of damage, right? It shifts, if I remember correctly, with her based on if it's a mutant or if she's not attacking a mutant. So I think because of that suite of abilities, immunities, and variety of damage sources and debuffs that she can put on the champion, it's almost in a sense like she never flew too close to the sun. It's almost like the parable of Icarus, where like Nimrod got so broken in some places that I think Kabam felt like they needed to handle it, and they have. While Omega Sentinel's just been very strong all along and keeps on going along. And as a result, I think she has more staying power. I think she does because she's less of a threat of breaking something. Is the skill ask and things like that out of the summoner. And so I based just on the fact that 24 more champions will come out between now and December, or I guess maybe 23, I could see her falling down in the rankings just by virtue of power creep being what it is. But I think it'll be more due to power creep than it will be the game trying to kind of like move on, or Kabam intentionally putting forth nodes to make her less powerful, like they've clearly done with Nimrod. Okay, I was technically incorrect. That was the end of the tie, the massive tie at 20, and now we're moving on to another tie. And it's just the way it's going to work with the scoring system, right? At 16, we were moving on to Quicksilver. I talked at length about him in the Science one. Incredibly powerful. MP Blaze has shown us so much. I showed you him in Grandmaster's Gauntlet. I've done so many videos I've talked to you about. I think, and here's what I'll ask, is if the reason you haven't played him is because of his animations, give him maybe one more little try. It probably still won't work because honestly, even me, with as much as I love him, if I don't play him for enough time, when I then pick him back up, I sometimes struggle to land my specials. So it does take time and repetition getting used to him. I'm not going to say it doesn't, but if you can get used to it, he is incredibly powerful. I think he has enough versatility that if summoners do ascend him as a 6-star, because he's not available as a 7, that I think we're going to see him still continue to be considered a very strong champion as we move through the course of 2024. All right, let's move on to another tie, but staying in the Science class. We got Hulk. he is too brute force powerful, in my opinion, to fall off, at least anytime soon. In fact, I kind of almost struggle to think of the ways Kabam could do that to him, like they have with Nimrod. I'm sure they can come up with something. They're very smart. They're aware of what they built. And so I think they could, I don't know. I really don't know. I struggle to figure that out. So as a result, I'm not going to predict he's going to fall off. He's a recent buff. He's a very powerful 7-star. He's an absolute blast to play. And I hope they don't start neutering him. Because he's not dominating all things. He's just incredibly powerful. He does rely on stun, so a lot of the PvP modes, he can get in a little bit of trouble, although I use him in Battlegrounds pretty well. So I'm not sure. I just don't want them to do it to him. Please don't, Kabam. And you know what? I just struggle to think about how they will, unless it has to do with his stun move. I think that would be really the only way I could think of. And that's so I could see some nodes. The problem is that it have a lot of knock-on effects elsewhere too, but they might get creative and find some ways. I think he's going to stay very powerful. I don't think in June we see him having moved down at all. He's got only about a 1-point cushion though, so by the end of next year, with power creep being what it is, who knows? There's a chance that we see him move down, but I don't think so. Continuing on with that tie at the 16th spot, we've got CGR. You know, I think every time Kabam tries to slow him down, Slayer of Gods takes it as like a personal challenge and shows us like, oh, you think armor breaks were necessary? Let me show you this. So unless they come out with nodes and defenders that are like, you're not allowed to get a precision, you can't get a fury, and you also can't armor break the champion, and you can't gain power, they're going to have trouble slowing this guy down. They built an absolute beast. Now, you do have to know how to play him very well, and he does need his power. So those are some prerequisites. The thing is, people know how to play very well. People like Slayer of Gods and MSD have put out phenomenal guides on the variety of rotations of Cosmic Ghost Rider. And when they try to take one or two of those things away, he finds a way. He has so many damage capabilities, let's call it, in his kit that he's able to figure it out. I actually don't think we're going to see him slowing down anytime soon. I think the only way that could possibly happen is if maybe a long form content, or I just don't know. I just don't know, because I think people enjoy playing him so much, love and enjoy playing him so much, that he's going to probably even be a popular Ascension candidate as time goes on. I think it would just take the Cosmic class coming along. But here's the interesting thing, and we've talked about this for a long time on my monthly tier list, is that the Cosmic class is extremely top heavy. So I think it would behoove Kabam to fill in a lot more of those B+ champions, which they've been doing, which means they're not going to unseat Cosmic Ghost Rider because he's an A+. So I think he's got legs. I think he's got staying power. And of all the champions that we've mentioned so far in this list, yeah, he's the one of the most confident will still be here when we get to June and later in 2024. I know this is a surprise to some of you, but hopefully by now you've seen the skill top 10. You've seen the best of 2023 top 10, so you're not surprised. Essentially, if you haven't seen either of those, one, I think you should go watch them. They're chock full of information and I think also quite entertaining. But what I'll say is this. One, go follow Bitter Steel. Go subscribe to his channel and tell him I sent you, and tell him that you want to see the Chilleth videos. And all will be made clear to you. She is a phenomenal champion and one of my top asks out of the Titan Crystal. I think as far as community prestige, reputation, she's going to climb, because I think so many people are going to be surprised by this. But as far as like being more powerful, I think she could possibly go up in Battlegrounds. We'll see. Possibly go up in War. We'll see. And possibly go up in ease of use. Because right now she has a little bit, it's almost being held against her. That's Bitter Steel. If you're not familiar with him, he's an insanely talented player. Over the course of the last, I think about 2 years, he has shown us the way with a variety of champions, coming out and being like, hey, this champion's phenomenal. Here's how to use him. Does great guides. I've been shouting him out. He is in the MCoC Illuminati. And he's also one of the leaders at SSX. A really nice young man. I got to meet him in Vancouver. And so there's just not much else I can say that hasn't been said in those other videos. And I do really want to encourage you to go subscribe to Bitter. He's an incredibly fine and helpful person too. He wants to help people out, get better at this game and have a good time. And he has shown me so many things about Chilleth. I want to get her. I very much want to get her as a 7-star. And I think she's only possibly going to go up. I do not see her moving down from here in June or in December of 2024. This guy, now he's got staying power. It is amazing the roller coaster he's been on. Now we covered that in the top 10 mutants, and I think he's actually going to plateau. He may go down a little bit, but as we've talked about so many times, like the game's so big, there's so many immunities these days that it's almost unique. It's not unique. I'm not sure what the right word before, but it's not common for a champion to be immune to bleed or poison. As a result, they're Archangel food. Node sets have coming in, and Kabam has been making some headway into saying like, hey, this node, you can't reduce the ability accuracy, or you have to have class advantage in order to reduce the ability accuracy. So they may go at him in that way. He's definitely on the back half of his career. He's on the back 9, but he's been in this game so long that could mean another 4 years of extreme relevance. I have no concerns. I think I took my own Archangel up to rank 5. He's in my Battlegrounds deck often if I can reduce ability accuracy. He's fantastic. He's phenomenal. He doesn't seem to be going anywhere. The worst thing that could happen is he falls to like honorable mention, in my opinion, over the course of 2024. It makes me so happy to see America Chavez up here, right? And she deserves it. She earns it. The group was in some ways even telling me to rate her a little higher in some places. We knocked her down in a couple. I think matching my own biases, but she got moved up in others. I've used her in Necropolis. I theorized that she was on my prediction video for that. She's fantastic. I don't think she's going to move up. I don't think she's going to like get stronger. Oh, I could see it. I wouldn't be shocked. I also don't think she's going to fall off. She's fantastic in War. She's fantastic in Battlegrounds. She's good in long form. She's very strong in general, right? She's unique in her class as far as the inability to nullify and get stronger against buffs. She's hitting relatively hard if they don't have any buffs, and then if they even just have one, she's just hitting extremely hard. It's borderline like heartwarming for me to have the community telling me how good she is now. Like it's not just me barking and being like, she's great, trust me guys, I made another video, she's wonderful. I don't see her moving down. I just don't, at least not over the course of 2024, unless some just amazing bangers or Mystic champions come out, or there's some sort of fundamental change between the class relationship of Mystic and Cosmic. But I feel like that's relatively mature with a lot of design space still to go in it. So I just don't see it happening. I really don't. She doesn't need to land debuffs. She's a really good champion that's not too strong, not broken. I don't see Kabam thinking they need to nerf her via defenders or nodes or things like that. I think she's got staying power, and I think you should get used to seeing her in the top 20. All right, and we'll be ending this as the final champion of the tied for 14. So this was the, essentially 11 through 20, based on how many champions there are. There happens to be a large tie at 10. And it's Nick Fury. I don't think he's going anywhere. I've gotten to play him more. In fact, I just literally used him in War today. And if I can, I'll get the video. I don't think I'm gonna have times. I look at the time and I know when I need to leave on my trip. So, but it got to use almost everything in his kit except for the evade counter. And it was really cool. He is so incredibly powerful. He can get rid of those debuffs. The bleed damage, mine is ascended. The bleed damage is outrageous. When his first life, you just end your combos in light. It's almost mind-blowing how powerful he is for how simple he is to use. I don't think he's going to be slowing down anytime soon. I think the only reason why he will eventually fall out of these lists is because I don't think he's going to come as a 7-star. I'd be shocked. In fact, I think the way he possibly comes as a 7-star is if there's like a deal for an awakening gem that's like outrageously expensive, because people, they know that people are going to want to get him awakened. And even then, I think it's going to be very late into the life cycle of 7-stars before we ever see Nick Fury. He just automates too many things, and he's so incredibly powerful. And there we go. We have him. If he was faster in Battlegrounds as an attacker, his score would be higher. In War, using him today, I kind of want to make him a 9 in War, but this is where we've got him. The group agreed. So I think that makes sense. And then there's probably a little bit of recency bias as well. Like I said, I plan to try to use him in Necropolis. So there we go. All right. So here's what I'd like to do. And I want people to go back and watch the other videos if you haven't watched them. And I'm aware that some of you, if you've been keeping notes, you know who the top 10 is already. But if you haven't done those things, and please don't, let me know who you're like, dude, this is my prediction for the top 10 or something like that. I'd love to see that. And let me know how you've enjoyed the series. And if there's some that you're like, okay, I went back and watched your top 10 on this class after seeing this, I'd love to know that. And also, like, You know, I'm open. I like reading the comments that are constructively critical. The ones that are just obviously upset and angry, I read and I just feel bad. Not for me, by the way. I don't feel bad for me. But yeah, that's what it is. I hope you're enjoying this process. We've got one video left. The top 10 champions at MCoC. I think just even being an honorable mention on this shows how incredibly powerful they are. Thank you so much for watching. Massive shout out and thank you to my boys over at SSX. So many of them spent a ton of time sharing their knowledge, their expertise, and their experience in these modes, and also helped me come up with the formula in order to rank these champions. Specific thank you and shout out to Bitterstill, Campo, DLL, Gara, Na, Odysseus, Outline, Royu, Shibi, Simula, The Strands, Zahid, Matt Hill, and of course my boy, Egatron. All right, let's...